The wind on Vorgath cut like a knife. Hyun pulled his jacket tighter as he walked through the snow. The ice planet was not a place anyone wanted to visit. It was cold, empty, and far from any civilized world. But the human research team had to check the old temple. Their scanners had picked up strange readings from inside. Hyun was the team medic. He carried his medical bag over his shoulder. Behind him, 3 other humans walked carefully through the deep snow. Captain Nam led the group. He was a tall man with gray hair and a serious face. He did not like this mission. Everyone could see it in his eyes. "Stay close," Nam said. "We check the temple and leave. Nothing more." The temple stood ahead like a frozen giant. It was built from dark stone, covered in ice and snow. The structure was ancient, built by a race that no longer existed. Strange symbols covered the walls. No one could read them anymore. Hyun entered first. Inside, the temple was darker and colder than outside. His flashlight cut through the darkness. The beam of light showed empty halls and broken statues. Everything was silent, too silent. Then he heard it, a small sound, weak, like something trying to breathe. "Wait," Hyun said. He raised his hand. "Do you hear that?" The others stopped. They listened. Captain Nam frowned. Probably just the wind. But Hyun knew better. He had been a medic for 15 years. He knew the sound of something dying. He followed the sound deeper into the temple. His boots echoed on the stone floor. The others followed behind him, their weapons ready. The sound grew louder. It led him to a large chamber. The room was circular with a high ceiling. In the center, something moved. Hyun pointed his flashlight at it. 3 small creatures lay on the cold stone floor. They were no bigger than dogs. Their bodies were covered in scales that shimmered even in the dim light. But the shimmer was fading. The scales looked dull and gray. Wings, too small for their bodies, were folded against their sides. "Dragons," Captain Nam whispered. "Those are dragon hatchlings." Hyun had seen pictures of dragons before. Everyone in the galaxy knew about them. Dragons were powerful, intelligent, and dangerous. They ruled several star systems. Their ships were the fastest in space. Their warriors were legendary. But these creatures on the floor did not look powerful. They looked like they were dying. Hyun knelt beside them. He could see their chests moving up and down, but barely. Their breathing was shallow and fast. One of them, the smallest, had its eyes closed. Its scales were almost completely gray. "They're freezing," Hyun said. He touched one gently. The scales felt like ice. "And starving. They won't last much longer." Captain Nam shook his head. "We need to leave them. This is not our problem." "They're babies," Hyun said. He opened his medical bag. "We can't just leave them to die." "They're dragon babies," Nam said. "Their kind has killed humans before. Dragons don't like other species touching their young. If we interfere, we could start a war." Hyun looked at the 3 small creatures. They were so weak, so helpless. He saw the smallest one struggling to breathe. Its tiny chest moved slower with each breath. "Where's their mother?" asked Gina, one of the other team members. She was young, with kind eyes. She looked worried. Hyun stood up and searched the chamber with his flashlight. In the corner, he found the answer. A large dragon lay dead on the floor. Her body was massive, 10 times bigger than the hatchlings, but she was not moving. Hyun walked closer. He saw the burns on her scales, weapon burns. "Poachers," he said. His voice was hard. "They killed her for her scales. Dragon scales are worth a fortune on the black market." The chamber was silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The mother had tried to protect her babies. She had brought them to this temple, probably hoping the cold would slow them down until help arrived. But help had not come. And now, she was dead. "We have to save them," Hyun said. He walked back to the hatchlings. "I'm not leaving them here." Captain Nam stepped forward. Hyun, think about this. We don't know anything about dragon biology. You're a human medic, not a dragon doctor. You could make things worse. Or I could save them, Hyun said. He was already examining the smallest hatchling. Its heartbeat was too slow. Its body temperature was dangerously low. If we do nothing, they die for certain. At least let me try. Nam looked at the other team members. Gina nodded. The other two men looked uncertain. The captain sighed. He was a good man, despite his harsh words. He cared about his team, and he knew Hyun well enough to know the medic would not give up. Fine, Nam said, but we do this fast. We stabilize them and contact the Dragon Council. They can send someone to pick up their young. We don't keep them. Understood? Hyun nodded. He did not care about the politics. He just wanted to save these 3 lives. He pulled out his thermal blankets from his bag. They were designed for humans, but they would have to work. He wrapped the first hatchling carefully, then the second. The smallest one was so cold that Hyun worried it was already too late. He wrapped it gently in 2 blankets. He held it close to his chest, sharing his body heat. The tiny dragon felt like a block of ice in his arms. Its breathing was so weak he could barely feel it. Come on, he whispered to the small creature. Stay with me. Don't give up. The hatchling's eyes opened just a little. They were dark blue, almost black. They looked at Hyun for a moment. Then they closed again. Captain Nam contacted their ship. We need emergency supplies. Medical equipment, heating units, everything you can spare. Gina helped Hyun arrange the hatchlings in a safer position. She was careful, gentle. Will they make it? She asked. Hyun looked at the 3 small dragons. They were fighting for every breath. Their bodies were shutting down. He had never treated a dragon before. He did not know if human medicine would even work on them, but he had to try. I don't know, he said honestly, but I'm going to do everything I can. The temple suddenly felt less empty. There was purpose now, a reason to be there. Hyun worked quickly, checking each hatchling's vital signs as best he could. He made notes. He tried to remember everything he had ever learned about treating hypothermia and starvation. Time was running out. The smallest hatchling's breathing grew weaker. Hyun held it closer, trying to warm it with his own body. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, 3 small lives hung in the balance, and 1 human medic refused to let them go. The supply shuttle arrived 2 hours later. Hyun had not moved from his spot. He sat on the cold temple floor with the smallest hatchling still pressed against his chest. The other 2 lay nearby, wrapped in thermal blankets. They were breathing, but not much else. Gina and 2 crew members carried boxes into the temple. They brought heating units, medical supplies, and food rations. Hyun immediately set up a makeshift medical station. He placed the heating units around the hatchlings, creating a warm zone in the cold chamber. Body temperature is still too low, Hyun said, checking the smallest one again. He had named it in his mind, Little One. The other 2 were Big One and Middle One. Not creative names, but they helped him keep track. Captain Nam stood at the entrance. He had been on the communicator for an hour, trying to reach the Dragon Council. No one answered. The Dragon territories were far away and communication was slow. It could take days to get a response. Any luck? Hyun asked. Nam shook his head. The council is not responding. Either they're busy or they don't care about 3 hatchlings on a frozen planet. They're babies, Gina said. How can they not care? Dragons are complicated, Nam said. They value strength. Weak offspring are sometimes left to die. It's their way. Hyun felt anger rise in his chest. Well, it's not my way. These babies didn't ask to be abandoned. They didn't ask for their mother to be killed. He turned back to the hatchlings. Little One's breathing had improved slightly. The warmth was helping, but it was not enough. The baby dragons needed food. They needed proper medicine. They needed care that Hyun did not know how to give. He opened his medical database on his tablet. He searched for any information about dragon biology. There was not much. Dragons did not share their medical knowledge with other species. They were secretive and proud. All Hyun could find were basic facts. Dragons were cold-blooded in their early stages. They needed heat to survive. They ate meat, usually fresh. Their metabolism was fast. "I need to feed them," Hyun said. "They're starving." "We brought rations," Gina said. She opened a box. Inside were protein bars, dried meat, and meal packets. Hyun took the dried meat. It was processed, made for humans, but it was the best they had. He broke off a small piece and tried to feed it to Middle One. The hatchling's mouth did not open. It did not respond at all. "Come on," Hyun whispered. "You have to eat." He tried again. Nothing. The hatchling was too weak to eat. Hyun's mind raced. If they would not eat solid food, he needed another way. He needed liquid nutrition. He grabbed his medical supplies. He had IV fluids for humans. They contained electrolytes and basic nutrients. It was not ideal, but it might keep the hatchlings alive. He prepared a small dose. He had to guess the amount. Too much could hurt them. Too little would not help. His hands were steady as he inserted the IV needle into Middle One's leg. The scales were tough. He had to push harder than expected. The hatchling made a small sound, but did not pull away. It was too weak to fight. The fluid began to flow. Hyun watched carefully. He looked for any bad reactions, any sign that the human medicine was poisoning the dragon baby. Minutes passed. The hatchling's breathing stayed the same. No worse, no better. He did the same for Big One. Then, carefully, for Little One. The smallest hatchling barely reacted to the needle. Its eyes stayed closed. Its body felt so fragile in Hyun's hands. "Now we wait," Hyun said. Gina sat down beside him. "You should rest. You've been working for hours." "I can't rest," Hyun said. "Not while they're like this." Night fell on Vorgoth. Not that it made much difference. The planet was always dark and cold. Captain Nam ordered most of the team back to the ship. Only Hyun and Gina stayed in the temple. They took turns watching the hatchlings. Hyun could not sleep. He kept checking their vital signs: heart rate, breathing, temperature. Every hour, he wrote down the numbers. He was looking for patterns, looking for signs of improvement. Around midnight, something changed. Little One's body started to warm up. Just slightly, but enough for Hyun to notice. Its breathing became stronger. Not by much, but it was progress. "It's working," he told Gina. "The fluids are helping." Gina smiled. "You're doing it. You're actually saving them." But Hyun knew it was too early to celebrate. The hatchlings were still in danger. They needed more than just fluids. They needed real food. They needed specialized care. They needed their own kind. On the second day, Middle One opened its eyes. They were bright yellow, like small suns. The hatchling looked around the temple. It saw Hyun and made a small chirping sound. It was trying to communicate. Hyun moved closer. "Hey there, I'm here to help. Can you understand me?" The hatchling chirped again. Then it did something strange. The scales on its neck began to glow. Soft blue light pulsed from them in a pattern. 3 quick flashes, then 2 slow ones. "It's trying to talk," Gina said. "Dragons communicate with light patterns when they're young. I read about it once." Hyun watched the pattern repeat. 3 quick, 2 slow. What did it mean? He wished he knew. He wished he could tell the hatchling that everything would be okay. He tried talking to it again. "I'm Hyun. I'm trying to help you. Your mother brought you here to keep you safe, but she's gone now. I'm sorry." The hatchling's lights dimmed. Did it understand? Hyun could not tell, but the little dragon looked at him with those bright yellow eyes. There was intelligence there. Awareness. By the third day, supplies were running low. Hyun had used most of his IV fluids, the heating units needed more power, and the hatchlings were getting restless. Middle one and big one were moving around now. They were still weak, but they were alive. They were fighting. Little one was the problem. The smallest hatchling had not opened its eyes since that first moment. It took the IV fluids, but showed no other signs of improvement. Its breathing was steady but shallow. Its body temperature was still too low. Hyun spent most of his time with Little One. He held it, talked to it, tried to warm it with his own body heat. Nothing seemed to work. The tiny dragon was giving up. "Don't you dare," Hyun whispered to it on the third night. "Don't you dare give up on me. I didn't come all this way to watch you die." He was exhausted. He had barely slept in 3 days. His eyes were red. His hands shook from tiredness. But he would not leave Little One's side. Gina brought him food. "You need to eat. You're no good to them if you collapse." Hyun ate without tasting. His mind was on the hatchling in his arms. So small, so fragile, so close to death. Captain Nam visited the temple. The Dragon Council finally responded. "They're sending someone, but it will take 5 days for them to arrive." 5 days, Hyun repeated. Little One might not have 5 days. Nam looked at the smallest hatchling. His expression softened. "You've done everything you can, more than anyone expected. If it doesn't make it, that's not your fault." "I refuse to accept that," Hyun said. On the 4th day, Hyun tried something desperate. He remembered reading about how some earth animals needed physical contact to survive. Touch was important. Connection was important. Maybe dragons were the same. He brought all 3 hatchlings together. He placed them side by side, touching each other. Big One and Middle One instinctively moved closer to Little One. They wrapped their tiny bodies around their sibling. Their scales began to glow softly. The lights pulsed in unison. 3 dragons, 3 hearts, beating together. The pattern was beautiful, mesmerizing, and something changed. Little One's scales began to glow too. Faint at first, then stronger. The smallest hatchling's eyes opened. Those dark blue eyes looked at Hyun, then at its siblings, then back at Hyun. And the tiny dragon made a sound. Not a chirp, something deeper, a small growl of determination. "That's it," Hyun said. Tears filled his eyes. "That's it. Fight. Stay with us." Little One was not ready to die. Not yet. And neither was Hyun ready to give up. By the 5th day, all 3 hatchlings were awake. They were still weak, but they were alive. More than that, they were active. Big One liked to explore the chamber, dragging its tiny body across the floor. Middle One stayed close to the heating units, soaking up warmth. And Little One, the fighter, stayed near Hyun. Hyun had not left the temple in 5 days. He looked terrible. His hair was messy. His clothes were dirty. Dark circles hung under his eyes. But he felt good, better than he had in years. He was making a difference. 3 lives depended on him, and he was not failing them. The biggest problem now was food. The IV fluids had kept the hatchlings alive, but they needed real nutrition. They needed meat, fresh meat. But there was no prey on Vorgath. The planet was too cold for most life forms. "We could synthesize something," Gina suggested. She was looking at the food processor on the ship. "The machine can create protein structures. Maybe we can make something close to meat." Hyun thought about it. It was worth trying. He worked with Gina to program the processor. They used the data from his scans of the hatchlings. They created a paste that contained proteins, fats, and nutrients. It looked terrible. It smelled worse, but it might work. He brought the paste to Middle One first. The hatchling sniffed it. Its tiny nose wrinkled. Then, surprisingly, it licked the paste. Once. Twice. Then it ate more. It was hungry, very hungry. Big One ate next. Then Little One. All 3 hatchlings ate the synthetic food. It was not perfect. It was not what they needed, but it was keeping them alive. That was what mattered. As the hatchlings grew stronger, Hyun noticed something interesting. They communicated constantly, not with sounds, but with light. Their scales glowed in patterns. Each pattern seemed to mean something different. A quick flash meant excitement. A slow pulse meant content. A bright flash meant danger or fear. Hyun started keeping notes. He wrote down every pattern he saw. He tried to match them with the hatchlings' behavior. Slowly, he began to understand their language. It was basic, simple, but it was communication. On the 6th day, something amazing happened. Hyun was sitting near the hatchlings when Little One approached him. The tiny dragon climbed onto his lap. Its scales began to glow in a pattern Hyun had never seen before. 3 long pulses, then a pause, then 3 more. "What does that mean?" Gina asked. Hyun thought about it. The pattern was slow and steady, calm. The hatchling was relaxed on his lap. Its eyes were closed. It looked peaceful. "I think it means safe," Hyun said. "Or maybe thank you. I'm not sure." Little One repeated the pattern. Then it did something else. It nuzzled its head against Hyun's hand. The gesture was clear. It was showing affection, trust. The tiny dragon felt safe with him. Hyun felt something break inside his chest. A good break, like a wall coming down. He had saved these creatures, but they had also saved him. They had reminded him why he became a medic, to help, to heal, to make a difference. He gently petted Little One's head. The scales were warm now. They felt smooth and hard, like polished stone. The hatchling made a soft sound, not quite a purr, but close. Captain Nam visited the temple again. He looked at Hyun and the hatchlings. His expression was complicated. "The Dragon Council representative will arrive tomorrow. They want to take the hatchlings immediately." "Good," Hyun said. "They need proper care. Dragon care." But he felt sad. He had spent 6 days with these babies. He had fought for them, suffered for them, and now they would leave. It was the right thing, but it hurt. Nam sat down beside him. "You did something incredible here. No one thought they would survive. But you didn't give up." "I couldn't give up," Hyun said. "They needed me." That night, Hyun could not sleep. He lay on his mat, staring at the temple ceiling. The hatchlings were asleep nearby, their bodies pressed together for warmth. They looked peaceful, safe, alive. He thought about their mother, the dead dragon in the corner of the chamber. She had tried so hard to save her babies. She had brought them to this temple, hoping someone would find them, hoping someone would care. "I hope I made you proud," Hyun whispered to the darkness. "I hope you know your babies are safe." On the 7th day, the dragon ship arrived. It was massive, bigger than any human vessel. It landed outside the temple with a thunderous sound. The whole structure shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Hyun picked up Little One. He held the hatchling close one last time. "You're going home now. Your people are here." The temple entrance darkened. Something huge blocked the light. A figure entered. It was a dragon, a full-grown adult. It was beautiful and terrifying. Its scales were deep red, like fire. Its eyes glowed gold. It stood on 4 legs, each one as thick as a tree trunk. Wings were folded against its massive body. Hyun stood up. He was not afraid. He had cared for this dragon's young. He had saved them. He had nothing to be ashamed of. The dragon looked at him, then at the hatchlings, then back at him. Its eyes were intelligent, ancient, wise. "You are the human medic," the dragon said. Its voice was deep. It spoke in perfect human language, but with an accent that sounded like rocks grinding together. "Yes," Hyun said. "I'm Hyun. I am Keeper Day. I am responsible for the young of our race." The dragon moved closer. It looked at the 3 hatchlings. They ran to it immediately, chirping and glowing with excitement. "Tell me what happened." Yun explained everything. The dead mother, the dying hatchlings, the 5 days of struggle, the improvised treatments, the synthetic food, everything. Keeper Day listened without interrupting. When Hyun finished, the dragon was silent for a long moment. Then it looked at the dead mother dragon in the corner. "She was called Sora," Keeper Day said. "She was young, foolish. She left our territory against advice. She wanted to explore the galaxy, and she paid the price." "The hatchlings are not foolish," Hyun said. "They deserve to live." "Yes," the dragon said. "They do. And you have given them that chance." Keeper Day examined the hatchlings. It checked each one carefully, using its claws with surprising gentleness. It studied their scales, their eyes, their wings. It asked Hyun questions about their treatment, about the IV fluids, about the synthetic food. "You used human medicine on dragon young," Keeper Day said. "That was dangerous." "It was necessary," Hyun replied. "They were dying." "Yes." The dragon nodded slowly. "And you saved them. No dragon doctor would have tried what you did. We have our ways, our traditions. Sometimes traditions blind us to new possibilities." The dragon stood up to its full height. It was enormous. Hyun felt very small beside it. But he did not look away. "The Dragon Council sent me to retrieve the young," Keeper Day said, "but they also sent me to evaluate you. There are those who say you interfered, that you broke protocol, that humans should not touch dragon young." Hyun's heart sank. "I only wanted to help." "I know." The dragon's expression softened. "And that is why I will tell the council this. You are a credit to your species. You showed compassion when others would have walked away. You showed courage when faced with the unknown. You showed skill when you had no training. These qualities are rare. These qualities are valuable." Little One climbed up Yun's leg. The tiny dragon settled in his arms one last time. Its scales glowed with that pattern. 3 long pulses. 3 more. "Safe. Thank you." Hyun felt tears on his face. He did not try to hide them. "Take care of them," he said to Keeper Day. "Please. They're special." "All young are special," the dragon said. "But these 3 survived against impossible odds. They have strong spirits, like the human who saved them." Keeper Day picked up the hatchlings gently in its massive claws. They chirped and glowed, not afraid of the adult dragon. They knew they were going home. At the entrance, Keeper Day stopped. It looked back at Hyun. "The Dragon Council will hear of this. What you did here will not be forgotten. Humans and dragons have a complicated history. Perhaps you have shown us a path to something better." Then the dragon left, taking the 3 hatchlings with it. Hyun watched them go. The temple felt empty without them. Cold, quiet. But he smiled. Because they were alive. Because he had made a difference. Because sometimes one person refusing to give up could change everything. 3 weeks passed after the hatchlings left. Hyun returned to the research station. He tried to go back to normal life, but nothing felt normal anymore. He kept thinking about 3 small dragons and their glowing scales. He wondered if they were healthy, if they remembered him. Captain Nam noticed the change. "You're distracted," he said one morning. "Your mind is somewhere else." "I'm fine," Hyun said. But it was a lie. He was not fine. Part of him was still in that cold temple, holding Little One, fighting to keep 3 lives from slipping away. Then the message came. It was from the Dragon Council, an official communication. Hyun was ordered to report to the council chambers on the dragon home world of Taeyang. The message did not say why, it just said he had to go, immediately. Captain Nam read the message. His face went pale. "This is bad. The Dragon Council doesn't summon people unless it's serious. They might put you on trial." "For what?" Hyun asked. I saved their young. You interfered with another species. You used unauthorized methods. Dragons are proud. They might see it as an insult. Nam put a hand on Hyun's shoulder. I'm sorry. I should have stopped you at the temple. Would you have? Hyun asked. Nam was quiet for a moment. Then he shook his head. No, I wouldn't have. What you did was right. Hyun packed his things. The journey to Taeyang would take 4 days. He had time to think, time to worry, time to prepare himself for whatever was coming. The ship that came for him was not a human vessel. It was a dragon ship, smaller than the one that took the hatchlings, but still impressive. The pilot was a young dragon named Wan. He was polite, but distant. He did not talk much during the journey. Am I in trouble? Hyun asked on the second day. Wan looked at him with golden eyes. The council will decide. What do you think they'll decide? I think, Wan said carefully, that you did something very brave, or very foolish. Perhaps both. Taeyang was beautiful. The planet was warm and bright, nothing like frozen Vorgath. Mountains rose from green valleys, cities floated in the sky, held up by technology Hyun did not understand, and dragons flew everywhere, hundreds of them, thousands. They filled the sky like birds. The council chambers were built into the largest mountain. The building was ancient, carved from solid stone. Inside, the halls were enormous. Everything was made for creatures much bigger than humans. Hyun felt like a child in a giant's house. One led him to a massive door. The council is waiting. Be respectful, be honest, and be brave. Thank you, Hyun said. The door opened. The chamber beyond was huge. The ceiling was so high that Hyun could barely see it. And sitting on stone seats around the room were dragons. 12 of them. The Council of Elders. The most powerful dragons in the galaxy. Hyun walked to the center of the chamber. His footsteps echoed. He felt very small, very alone, but he kept his head up. He had done the right thing. He would not apologize for that. One dragon spoke. It was ancient, with white scales and eyes like diamonds. You are the human medic called Hyun. Yes, Elder, Hyun said. You interfered with dragon young. You used foreign medicine on them. You touched them without permission. Do you deny these accusations? No, Hyun said. I don't deny them. Another dragon spoke. This one had black scales. Then you admit your crime. You admit you broke our laws. I admit I saved 3 lives, Hyun said. His voice was steady. Their mother was dead. They were freezing and starving. If I had done nothing, they would have died. Is that what your laws want? The black dragon's eyes narrowed. You are bold for a human. Too bold, perhaps. The young were in dragon territory, another dragon said. This one had blue scales. They were our responsibility, not yours. With respect, Hyun said, they were on Vorgath. That planet is not in dragon territory. It's neutral space. And they were dying. I don't care about territory laws. I care about saving lives. That's what medics do. The chamber filled with sound, dragons talking to each other in their own language. It sounded like thunder. Hyun could not understand the words, but he could sense the tension. Some dragons were angry, others seemed thoughtful. The white dragon raised a claw. The chamber went silent. Bring in the witness. A door opened. Keeper Day entered. The large red dragon walked slowly to the center. It bowed to the council. Keeper Day, the white dragon said, you examined the young. You examined the humans' methods. Tell the council what you found. Keeper Day looked at Hyun, then at the council. I found 3 healthy hatchlings. Their scales were bright. Their spirits were strong. They showed no signs of damage from the humans' treatment. In fact, they were thriving. But he used human medicine, the black dragon said. He used untested methods. He used what he had, Keeper Day replied, and it worked. I have studied his notes. His approach was clever, resourceful. He adapted human techniques to dragon biology with no training and no guidance. That shows exceptional skill. Or exceptional luck, another dragon said. Perhaps, Keeper Day said. But luck or skill, the result is the same. 3 young dragons live because of this human. Without him, they would be dead. The white dragon looked at Hyun again. Why did you do it? Why risk yourself for dragon young? Our kinds have no alliance, no friendship. Why should you care? Hyun thought about the question. He thought about Little One in his arms, about Middle One's first meal, about Big One's curious eyes, about 5 sleepless nights in a frozen temple. Because they needed help, he said simply. Because I could help. Because that's what I do. I'm a medic. I save lives. It doesn't matter if those lives are human or dragon or anything else. A life is a life. The chamber was silent. The dragons looked at each other. Hyun could not read their expressions. He did not know if his words had helped or hurt his case. Then something unexpected happened. A door at the back of the chamber opened. 3 small shapes entered, 3 dragon hatchlings. They were bigger now, healthier. Their scales gleamed, and they ran straight to Hyun. Little One reached him first. The tiny dragon climbed up his leg and into his arms. Its scales glowed with that familiar pattern. 3 long pulses. Safe. Thank you. The other 2 hatchlings circled around him, chirping happily. We did not summon the young, the white dragon said, but there was amusement in its voice. Yet here they are. Keeper Day spoke. The young remember. They remember the human who saved them. They have bonded with him. That is rare, very rare. Dragons do not bond easily, especially not with other species. The black dragon stood up. This changes things. A bond cannot be ignored. It is sacred to our kind. The white dragon nodded slowly. Indeed, the young have chosen, and we must respect that choice. It looked at Hyun. Human medic, you have done something remarkable. You have saved 3 of our young using methods we would never have considered. You have shown courage, compassion, and skill. These are qualities we value. However, another dragon said, you also broke protocols. You acted without permission. Some of us believe you should be punished. Hyun's heart raced. He held Little One closer. The white dragon raised its claw again. But the majority of us believe otherwise. You did not act with malice. You acted with kindness. And the young are alive because of it. Therefore, this council finds you innocent of wrongdoing. You are free to go. Hyun felt relief wash over him. Thank you, elders. But, the white dragon continued, your actions have created a situation. The young have bonded with you. This creates a connection between your kind and ours. A connection that did not exist before. We must discuss what this means for our peoples. The blue dragon spoke. Perhaps it means we should talk more. Cooperate more. There may be much we can learn from each other. Or perhaps, the black dragon said, it means nothing. 1 human saving 3 hatchlings does not change centuries of separation. The white dragon looked at both of them. That is what we must decide. But not today. Today, we acknowledge what happened. We honor the human who refused to let our young die. And we consider what comes next. The council ended. The dragons left one by one. Keeper Day approached Hyun. You did well. You spoke with honesty. The council respects that. What happens now? Hyun asked. Little One was still in his arms, content and warm. Now, Keeper Day said, we see if one human's compassion can build a bridge between 2 species. 6 months passed. Hyun's life had changed completely. He was no longer just a medic on a research station. He was something else now, something unexpected. He was a bridge. The Dragon Council had made a decision. They created a new position, cultural liaison between humans and dragons, and they offered the position to Hyun. He accepted without hesitation. Now he lived on Taiyang, in a small house near the council chambers. It was strange at first. Everything was so big, the doors, the furniture, the streets. But he adapted. He learned the dragon language. He studied their customs. He tried to understand their way of thinking. And he spent time with the 3 hatchlings. They visited him every day. They were growing fast. Big one was now the size of a large dog. Middle one was not far behind. Little one was smaller, but fierce and clever. They learned from Hyun, and he learned from them. The hatchlings had names now, real dragon names. Big one was called Tae, which meant great. Middle one was Hana, which meant one. And little one was Nari, which meant brightness. Hyun liked the names. They fit. "You must teach us about humans," Keeper Day said one day. "The council wants to understand your species better." So Hyun taught. He explained human culture, human values, human medicine. He brought books and videos from Earth. He showed the dragons what humans could do, not just in war or technology, but in art, music, and compassion. The dragons listened. Some were skeptical, some were curious, but they all listened. "Your species is weak," one dragon said during a council session. "You have no scales, no natural weapons, you cannot fly. How have you survived?" Hyun smiled. "We survive because we adapt, because we work together, because we never give up. Those 3 hatchlings were dying on Vorgoth. I had no training in dragon medicine. I had no tools designed for dragons. But I adapted. I found a way. That's what humans do." The dragon thought about this. Adaptation. Perhaps that is a strength we have overlooked. News of Hyun's story spread across the galaxy. Other species heard about the human medic who saved dragon young. Some called him crazy. Some called him a hero. Most just called him interesting. Human leaders contacted him. They wanted to know about the dragons. They wanted trade agreements, technology sharing, military alliances. Hyun told them to slow down. "The dragons are proud," he explained. "They value strength and honor. You can't just demand things from them. You have to earn their respect." "And how do we do that?" a human ambassador asked. "By being honest. By showing them what makes humans special. Our creativity, our determination, our compassion." The ambassador looked doubtful. "Compassion won't protect us in a war." "Maybe," Hyun said. "But it might prevent the war in the first place." 1 year after the incident on Vorgoth, the Dragon Council made an announcement. They were opening their borders to human scientists. Not many, just a few. Carefully selected. But it was a start. A real start. The first human science team arrived on Taiyang 3 months later. They were nervous, excited, scared. Hyun met them at the landing pad. "Remember," he told them, "your guests here. Be respectful. Be curious. And don't be surprised if dragons seem cold at first. They're not cold. They're just careful. Earn their trust, and you'll see a different side." The team leader was a woman named Minji. She was a biologist. She studied alien life forms. She looked at the dragons flying overhead with wonder in her eyes. "This is incredible," she said. "I've dreamed of this my whole life. Meeting the dragons, learning from them." "They'll learn from you too," Hyun said. "That's the point. Exchange. Understanding. Both species becoming better." Minji smiled. "You really believe that, don't you? That this will work?" "I have to believe it," Hyun said, "because the alternative is too sad." The human team settled in. They worked alongside dragon scientists. At first it was awkward. Dragons and humans had different methods, different perspectives, different goals. But slowly they found common ground. They discovered that both species wanted similar things: knowledge, progress, understanding. One day, a dragon scientist named Gil approached Hyun. "I need your help. We have a sick hatchling. Our doctors cannot determine what is wrong. The symptoms are unusual." Hyun went to the medical center immediately. The sick hatchling was small, even younger than Tae, Hana, and Nari had been when he found them. It lay on a medical bed, barely moving. Its scales were dull. Its breathing was labored. "What have you tried?" Hyun asked. Gil explained. They had tried traditional dragon remedies, heat treatments, special foods. Nothing worked. The hatchling was getting worse. Hyun examined the young dragon carefully. He looked at its eyes, its scales, its movements. Then he saw something. A small wound on its leg, almost hidden under the scales. It was infected. "This is a bacterial infection," Hyun said. "It's spreading through its bloodstream. It needs antibiotics." "We do not use such medicines," Gil said. "Dragons heal naturally." "Not from this," Hyun said. "This infection is too aggressive. Without treatment, the hatchling will die." Gil looked torn. "Using foreign medicine goes against our traditions." "But you asked for my help," Hyun said gently. "Let me help." Gil thought for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Do what you must." Hyun worked quickly. He synthesized antibiotics using the medical lab. He calculated the dosage carefully, accounting for the hatchling's size and species. He administered the medicine and monitored the results. 3 days later, the hatchling was recovering. Its scales were bright again. Its energy was returning. Gil watched with amazement. "You saved another one," the dragon said. "How did you know what to do?" "I'm a medic," Hyun said. "It's what I do, and I learned from last time. Each challenge teaches us something new." Gil bowed his head. "I doubted your methods. I was wrong." There is wisdom in adaptation. Word spread about the second rescue. More dragons began to trust human medicine. More dragons began to trust humans. The divide was closing, slowly, carefully, but it was closing. 2 years after Vorgath, the Dragon Council made another announcement. They were forming a formal alliance with humanity, not a military alliance. Something different, a partnership for knowledge, culture, and mutual growth. The ceremony was held in the Grand Hall of Taiyang. Representatives from both species attended. Human leaders stood beside dragon elders. It was historic, it was impossible, and it was real. Hyun stood in the back, watching. He did not need to be at the front. He had done his part. He had lit a small fire in a cold temple, and that fire had spread. Now it warmed 2 civilizations. Tae, Hana, and Nari found him in the crowd. They were almost full-grown now, magnificent creatures with gleaming scales and powerful wings. But they still remembered the human who saved them. They still showed him the light pattern. 3 long pulses, safe, thank you. "You've changed the galaxy," Keeper Day said, appearing beside Hyun. "1 act of compassion, that's all it took." "It wasn't just me," Hyun said. "It was them. 3 hatchlings who fought to survive, who showed dragons that humans could be trusted, who reminded everyone that life is worth protecting." "They will be ambassadors," Keeper Day said. "All 3. They will travel between human and dragon worlds. They will teach others what you taught them." Hyun felt pride swell in his chest. "They'll do great things." "As have you," Keeper Day said. "You will always be remembered." The human who refused to walk away, the human who saw 3 dying hatchlings and said, "No, not today, not on my watch." Years passed. The alliance grew stronger. Human and dragon scientists worked together. They made discoveries neither species could have made alone. They cured diseases. They explored distant stars. They built a future together. And at the center of it all, 3 dragons flew: Tai, Hana and Nari. Ambassadors, teachers, symbols of what was possible when two different species chose understanding over fear. Hyun was old now. His hair was gray. His hands were not as steady as they used to be. But he still worked. He still taught. He trained young medics from both species. He showed them that medicine was not just about knowledge. It was about caring, about refusing to give up, about seeing a life in danger and doing everything possible to save it. One evening he sat on his porch, watching the sky. Dragons flew overhead. Some were pure dragon. Some carried human passengers. It was normal now. Natural. No one thought it was strange anymore. Nari landed beside him. The smallest hatchling was smallest no longer. She was large and powerful with scales that gleamed like stars, but she still nuzzled Hyun's hand like she had in that cold temple long ago. "Hello, little one," Hyun said softly. Nari's scales glowed. 3 long pulses. The pattern had changed over the years. Now it meant more than safe or thank you. It meant family. It meant home. It meant love. Hyun closed his eyes. He thought about a frozen planet, about 3 tiny dragons fighting for every breath, about a choice he had made, a simple choice. To help, to care, to refuse to walk away. That choice had changed everything. It had built bridges across the stars. It had united species. It had created something beautiful. And it had all started with one human medic who looked at 3 dying hatchlings and said the most powerful words in any language. "I will not let you die." That was his legacy. Not the treaties or the alliances or the discoveries, but the simple truth that compassion could change the world. That one person caring could start a revolution. That refusing to give up, even when everything seemed hopeless, could create miracles. The sun set on Taeyang. Dragons and humans moved through the city together. 2 species, 1 future. All because a medic refused to walk away from 3 abandoned dragon hatchlings on a frozen world. And somewhere in the galaxy, other species watched and wondered. If dragons and humans could build this bridge, what else was possible? What other walls could fall? What other futures could be built? The answer was simple. Anything. Everything. As long as someone cared enough to try.